Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about hazards and what a possible hazard could be while you're in a sailboat. So the definition of a hazard kind of by the book is something that could be bad for our boat if we run into it, or something that could impair our sailing. So based on that definition, what are some things that you guys think hazards could be?
Buoys.
Okay, buoys, that's one. Good. Okay,
Rocks.
what's something else? Rocks, good. One more, let's think.
Other boats.
Another boat could be a hazard too, good. Okay, perfect. So there's a couple good examples of hazards. So let's move on to figuring out what they look like on a map and what they look like in real life. Okay, so for this section of the lesson, we're just going to go over maps and stuff and what a hazard could potentially look like in a map, so we can get to identifying hazards and stuff before we even get in the water. So, first up, we're just going to look at a couple of possible symbols that you could see in a map. So the first one there, you can see that's a danger line. It'd just be a dotted line around any area on a map. Would mean stay away from that area, something you don't want to go near. Next up here we got a couple symbols to do with shipwrecks and stuff. We live in Canada, not a whole lot of shipwrecks around here that are too visible or could potentially harm your boat, but still something just in case you ever come across it, something to be familiar with. These next few have to do with rocks. I know rocks are definitely prevalent everywhere, so we all should know our rock symbols. So this first one is just a dotted line around like a little asterisk looking symbol there. That would just mean to stay away from that. It's a rock which uncovers, so that means that based on tides and stuff it could be visible or it could be hidden. This next level is a rock. It's a dotted line with a little cross and a couple dots around it. That just basically means it's a rock that's underwater at sea level, so you can't see it from above ground, but it is there. This next two are rocks that are underwater, and one of them is at unknown depth and the other one is at known depth. And then here we have this little pound symbol, so that'd be like a thatched pattern all across one section of the map, which would just mean it's the bottom isn't very good for anchoring or trawling or anything like that. And then we got this little symbol here, which means that the depth of the water is unknown, but they think that it should be safe up until the depth under this little line here. So moving on, we have a couple symbols here of buoys. I'm not going to get into which one means which, just because that's another lesson for another day, but they're just general buoys, typical symbols of buoys that we could see on a map anywhere. So something to be familiar with in case you come across it. So now here we have our map, and we're just going to look through it and see if we can point out some symbols. So I'm just going to zoom in to some places here. Right here I know it's a little fuzzy, we can see some green squares and some red triangles. Those are a couple buoys. If we go down here, you can see the dotted line right there. That just means it's a danger area. And then if we look over here, you can see it's kind of blurry, but that would be a shipwreck. That little dot right there, that's what that symbol is. So all of these are just things to watch out for on a map, and so you know that stay away from those. So now we're going to go look at what some hazards could look like in real life. Okay, so here we are down at the waterfront on a little tour, and we're going to point out a couple hazards, see what we can see. So while we're out here, I'm just going to point out that the environment and like weather conditions and stuff can also be a hazard, just because that can impair our sailing as well. So that's something we want to look out for. So yeah, you're right, ice is definitely a hazard. We can see some of that out there for sure, because it is winter time. Don't want to go sailing around any ice. What's some other things that we can see out?
Some rocks.
Yep, there's some rocks you can see kind of poking out under the ice there, for sure. Something we should be careful of. And one more thing, can you guys think of something?
There's buoys.
yeah, you can see a couple buoys off there in the distance. Buoys definitely can be helpful and harmful, so we want to make sure that we don't hit those too. Alright. Okay, so now that we've talked about hazards and what they possibly could be, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to avoid hazards while we're out in the water, or before we even get out in the water. So before you go sailing anytime, check the weather. If there's a hazard kind of like lightning or hail or something like that, you probably don't want to go out on the water at all. And when you do go out on the water, here's a couple tips. If you know that there's a hazard in the area, like a rock or stuff like that, you should probably stay away from there, just because you don't want to take any chances, so steer clear of any known hazards already. If you're sailing and you come across a hazard that you haven't noticed before, let's say you see a rock poking up or a sandbar or something like that, just turn away from that as quickly as possible and head in the opposite direction, and make sure you aren't hitting that thing in front of you. And if you're on the water and you find a hazard that you think is unavoidable, maybe like a shallow rock or a buoy line or something like that, you have to just, all you can really do is raise up your centerboard and slow yourself down and hope for the best. So, this concludes our session on hazards. Thank you.